With these words, I would like to invite Mr. Shahnawaz Agha to present his thesis. And before he comes to the mic, I would like to give a brief introduction of Mr. Shahnawaz Agha. Mr. Shahnawaz Agha was born in, sir, aapki tarikh-e paidaish aur saal bata do? He was born in 1950 into a family of immigrant traders and was brought up in the former East Pakistan. He went to the first cadet college in the country then and postgraduated in commerce, studied Islamic jurisprudence as an apprentice to Dr. Muhammad Sayyid Al-Awadi from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. He has had a career in trade and industry from the age of 18 and heads a few enterprises today. To his credit are 4 books: A Rendezvous with Destiny, First Feelers, Decisive Edge, and What is this thing called Religion for God's Sake, and many articles as a research scholar. He has been an active contributor to a reputed newspaper on political economy and social issues. A research scholar, he is very well traveled and exposed. Sir, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Fizza, for laying out the sensitivities and disclosing my age, though, of this platform. It has become incumbent upon me towards presenting this inaugural paper and towards igniting this journey of a thesis development to introduce myself. Before I do that, however, I welcome with gratitude all present, especially the people who have consented to be part of the panel of speakers, and the honorable jury comprising of people who are deemed noble because after God it is they who judge. Thank you. Ideally, I wish to present myself as one of the 6.4 billion plus people that inhabit this planet, one who values his limited freedom for the limited time allocated, one who feels oppressed by the afflictions on his time by people unknown and circumstances not quite of his asking. Let's say I'm a man annoyed with my plight and I wish to rise and change my circumstance, and preferably with people who share a common plight. I am Mirza Shahnawaz Agha, an ordinary writer. What was not covered by the moderator was a prayer that should this effort yield a workable thesis that can be applied to our rudderless lot, it will be treated as a political anchor for all who subscribe to it. This is, however, not to be taken as a political party to be. Towards the thesis now, the temperamental need to question our plight warrants the exercise of free will. Free will is often mixed up with predetermination. A saint of the 5th Hijri period has clarified that a person is free to do all as he wills, but he cannot will what he will. Why am I poor? Why am I rich? Why am I being victimized? Or why am I victimizing others? Why am I short or tall? Why am I ill or bursting with energy, and so forth? Free will thus has a limitation to it for all human acts, which can be positive or negative based on the extent of knowledge one possesses. Towards the appropriate exercise of free will, the prerequisite, therefore, is the acquisition of knowledge enough to fathom the harm an action can cause. The freer a society from the restraints of inquisition, the more inventive, productive, and civilized they tend to remain. And indeed, this is evident. The liberty to question, therefore, is a revered human right and the cornerstone for the evolution of human civilization. Civilization which is progressive, tolerant, and free from regressive dishonesty and stagnation. Civilization can deem to be evolving when and where questions are being constantly raised and answers are being found continuously, transparently, and truthfully. The exercise of free will is again often misconstrued as denial of law or lawlessness. Here I am referring to free will as one that does not interfere with collective peace or harmony in societies. Instead, it addresses the individual and collective right to think, analyze, and draw logical conclusions. The ability to research, a research that can be applied to carry human knowledge a notch ahead. In the history of man, one observes a battle between Cain and Abel, the two poles for social governance. One is subjugating, the other is being subjugated. One is oppressing, the other getting oppressed. Although it is a story of usurpation of the commonwealth of nature by one to create a profit center dedicated to himself, and or in the macro context of countries to themselves, right or wrong, this is and has been the history of man. Debating the worth and value of an equitable socio-economic order compared to the order in history that has been and remains, one needs to only identify the players and play along with an improvised set of rules. In recorded history, the face of the usurper has been dual, just like the craft itself, founded on hypocrisy, duplicity, and the like. These faces are identifiable in the leadership of extreme materialism and extreme mysticism. According to Islamic beliefs, 124,000 messengers of God showed up in history to set this disorder right in societies, and that were leaning towards either of the two poles, extreme materialism or extreme mysticism. The common agenda of all prophets has been only indicative of one requirement: to enable man the freedom enough to exercise free will in an equitable social order. Evidence of this goal for socio-economic equity can clearly be seen in the timing when each of the prophets arrived in any society, their common job description, their being tutored first as shepherds, their economics, and their abodes. They all identified monotheism as the pivot of social and economic justice. This is the bedrock of the philosophy of lawmaking. This is the essence of religion, which is a social science, a science on how to manage societies. Consistently, however, post the arrival and departure of the prophets, we see that the leaders of extreme materialism and their pseudo-partners, the leaders of extreme mysticism, distorted their message and waylaid societies in the visage of the message itself, from the worship of one to the worship of none. In fact, the tradition to worship ancestors, power, money, the odd-looking, and the like are a more popular forms of worship than the freedom of practicing any monotheistic order. This is polytheism and the order of slavery today. The perpetrators of this crime of polytheism against mankind are all the gods that are and have been in human history. The kings, the dictators, the usurpers of the commonwealth of nature on the one hand, and their pseudo-partners on the others, the Maulvi, the monk, the padre, the like. They keep condoning the usurpation, denying material justice. They live different to commoners, they dress differently, and their economics for an elusive profit center lies in the captivity of land, labor, capital, and enterprise. The Pakistan case history is exemplary. The right or wrong of this mechanism of governance, management of societies as is indeed the issue at hand. I'm not here to motivate a hate syndrome. I'm not here as a critic of this fine art of profiteering. I'm here to talk alternate solutions. The course to take for us, the people of the world and Pakistan more specifically. The course that will establish material justice and social equity. I'm here to think with you our independence from the shackles of decadence. To me, the world is divided into two countries that have found a USP, unique selling point, for their existence, and those that have not. The owners of the USP, for the lack of a better term, are those that have anchored an exclusivity without which the rest of the world cannot presumably live and or survive. These countries enjoy the benefit of a captive economic playing field for production and block the evolution of civilization by global laws that are anti-well-being of the human race. They hold the material high-tech above social high-tech. This is the position we must seek to reverse. The shackles that arrest us in a dragnet are clear at both the individual level and at the level of the countries. These have to be shed, not by appeals, by pleas, by passive resistance or militancy, but by judicial legislation within. Our USP that the world will acknowledge in our ability to survive with what we have in the form of human resource and natural resource, and in a social and economic environment that is equitable. This is our roadmap and our destination both. A country without a roadmap and a destination is one that suffers from what is referred to in sociology as the monkey syndrome, copying others without knowing why. When it comes to desiring a national or social goal, the intricacies that plague the desire are popular consensus and the legitimacy of the desire. While popular consensus is achievable through proliferation of a message, the legitimacy requires a benchmark, a yardstick that is bigger than the desired goal. This ratification is only available as I see it from a divine dictum. This is, of course, in our case, is shredded to threads and branded as products. The good news, however, is the intactness of the principal pillars. To quote a few, there is no clergy in Islam. There is no monarchy in Islam. There is no nationalism in Islam. There is no compromise on the dictum in Islam. There is no landlordism in Islam. And most significantly, money is not a commodity, it is a measure of labor in Islam. This is the irrefutable premise. None of the branded owners of Islam can rob the Ummah with. As I call out to you to revert to our ideology, I essentially aim at and remain focused on the irrefutable pillars of the divine dictum that are enough to achieve an independent Pakistan. A Pakistan with a USP that will enable us to live in peace, breathe, and progressively grow into an exemplary welfare state. We must not brush this away as being right of left or right of right. It is a question of survival and honorably moving from slavery to real independence, moving from dogmatism to realism. In questioning our plight, I have envisaged the questioning of limitations that stem from a constitution, that stem from a reactive foreign policy, that stem from a partisan judiciary, that stem from our four factors of production, and above all, from a defeatist attitude settling for what is when what can be is a great option available. From this platform, we will endeavor to head into a series of at least 20 seminars and document them into a white paper for proliferation. We will endeavor to address a change in our condition.